Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Veteran to Veteran Info Seminar. It's a pleasure to speak with everyone today. I have a couple of ground rules before we begin the seminar. This seminar is not allowed to be recorded, so please have a paper and pen handy to write down all the valuable information that I will be sharing with you today. Also, I sent everybody an email that has all the important documents that we'll be discussing during the seminar. Please hold all of your questions until the end of the seminar. At the end of the seminar, I will answer your questions in the chat without stating your name. After I get through with the chat questions, I then will allow you to raise your hand and I'll open up your mic so you can ask me questions via voice as well. At this time, I'm going to give everybody a chance to put their cameras on. All cameras must remain on during this seminar. Crystal, please put your camera on. Bottom right corner. Those that don't have their cameras on will be put in the waiting room. Crystal Hanson, please put on your camera. Again, welcome to the Veteran to Veteran Info Seminar. The first thing that you need to know about VA claims, you need to go to va.gov, set up a username and an ID. That's what you're going to use to submit your claims and to check on the status of your claims. The next thing that you need to do is do an intent to file. An intent to file is not submitting a claim. An intent to file is a form that you use to hold your spot in line. VA will give you 12 months from the date of the intent to file to actually submit your claim. Now, once you submit your claim, that intent to file dies. So the very next day after submitting your claim, you should put another intent to file in your record to hold your spot in line for any future claims. After you do your intent to file, the next thing you need to do is request your C file. Your C file has everything that the VA has on you and includes your active duty medical records, your C&P examinations, and all of your VA visits. In order to request your C file, you're going to click on the link that I sent everyone that says VA Form 3288, and you're going to print that form out. Once you print out that form, it's going to ask you some questions. It's going to state, why do you need your C file? You're going to put it on that block VA claim. Then it's going to ask you, what part of the C file are you requesting? You're going to put in that block entire C file. Then it's going to ask you, where do you want us to send your C file on the disk at? You're going to put your current mailing address. After you get through completing that form, you're going to upload it to va.gov. Now, it may take up to 6 months to get a copy of your C file because they have a backlog of those requests. But this is a very important document that all veterans need to have. I recommend, if you haven't done so already, today you do an intent to file and you also submit a copy for your C file. Your C file is going to contain your DBQ so you can see what those doctors wrote in your exam that caused you to be lowballed or disapproved for a VA disability. Once you receive your C file in the mail, you have to print it out. And once you print it out, you're going to dissect that C file in a chronological order from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Every time that you went to sick call during active duty service, you're going to make separate disability files. Right knee, left knee, lower back, migraines, GYN, mental health. Whatever you went to the doctor for during active duty service, you're going to make separate disability files. Nicole Day, please be on camera. Then once you have separated your active duty records into separate disability piles, you're then going to take a blank piece of paper and put it on top of each disability pile that you dissected. Then you're going to take one disability pile at a time. Let's say it's your right knee disability pile. You're going to arrange those sick call visits in a chronological order from the first time that you went to sick call to the last time that you went to sick call for that disability. And once you arrange those sick call visits in a chronological order, you're then going to put those dates of that visit on that blank piece of paper that's on top of that pile. But as you're putting those dates for those sick call visits on that blank piece of paper, you're going to include the who, what, where, when, and why pertaining to that office visit. For example, January 17th, 2020, Fort Gordon, saw Dr. Green, right knee pain, prescribed Motrin. That's the who, what, where, when, and why, describing that office visit. Reminder, this seminar cannot be recorded, so please have a paper and pen handy to write down the information I'll be sharing today. And once you've written those active duty medical appointments on that blank piece of paper, you're going to continue that list with every time that you sought medical attention after you left the military in regards to that particular disability. It could be chiropractic, physical therapy, MRI, x-ray, pain clinic, surgery, and patient care, as long as it had something to do with that condition that started during active duty service. And you're going to put those after duty appointments in the chronological order with the who, what, where, when, and why, explaining those after service office visits. So by the time you get through dissecting your active duty medical records, that blank piece of paper that's on top of each disability pile is going to consist of during and after duty medical appointments in a chronological order with the who, what, where, when, and why, explaining those office visits. It's important to break down your medical records in this manner. That way you don't miss anything that you ever complained about during active duty service. Joseph, please be on camera. The way that VA rates disabilities, there's three ways to get service connection. The first way is direct service connection. That means you have to be able to prove that a disability started or was aggravated by military service. It's a chronic condition that lasts 6 months or more, and it continues to impact your life. If you haven't been to the doctor lately complaining about a condition that started during active duty service, you need to start going to the doctor now so you have up-to-date medical evidence to prove that that condition still exists or has worsened. Anything dealing with range of motion, neck, back, knees, wrists, ankles, elbows, shoulders, hips, etc. You need to get an MRI done on those parts of your body because an X-ray is not going to show the true extent of damage that an MRI is going to show. I know sometimes VA doctors are reluctant to order you MRIs, but if you truly believe that you need more diagnostic testing for your disability, you should always correspond with your VA doctor through Healthy Vet, so you have electronic proof that you requested advanced diagnostic testing. If they fail to accommodate you, you have the right to go to the patient advocate office and make a complaint. Or if you don't believe that your doctor has your best health and interest, you have the right to ask patient advocate to give you a new doctor because VA doctors work for us. You don't have to accept subpar treatment. The second way to get service connection is secondary conditions. Secondary conditions are conditions that are caused by your primary service connected disability. Let's say you're service connected for your right hip. Later on in life, you may have problems with your left hip due to overcompensation, or right ankle secondary to left ankle, right knee secondary to left knee. Just as long as you have medical evidence or a nexus letter in your record to connect your secondary condition to your primary service-connected disability. Your knees can be rated under 4 different disabilities. And you can be rated for knee flexation. That's how far you can flex your knees. Knee extension, that's how far you can extend your knee. Knee instability means that the tendons around your kneecap are weak and it causes your kneecap to move around. And knee ankylosing means your knee is stiff and it's hard to bend. Let's say you're rated for right knee flexation and nothing on your left knee. You may be able to claim left knee flexation, extension, instability, and ankylosing secondary to your service-connected right knee flexation, as long as you have medical evidence in your record to connect the secondary condition. Or let's say you're rated for right knee flexation. You can claim right knee extension, instability, and ankylosing secondary to your service-connected right knee flexation. Your back is rated under 3 different disabilities. Your lower back is lumbar strain. Your upper back is thoracic strain. And your neck is cervical strain. If you're rated for any back condition, you may be able to claim right and left hip secondary to your back, right and left thigh strain secondary to your back, right and left knee, right and left ankle. You may start to develop problems with your feet due to an uneven gait that's caused by your back, such as plantar fasciitis or pars planus. Or you may start to have nerve problems. If you believe that you have nerve problems, you need to go see a neurologist and get a nerve conduction test. You may develop neuropathy or radiculopathy caused by your back, which is burning, stinging, tingling, numbness. Radiculopathy and neuropathy can be rated under 4 different disability ratings. You can claim right and left lower extremities and right and left upper extremities for radiculopathy. Let's say you're rated for lumbar strain, lower back. You may be able to claim thoracic strain, which is upper back, secondary to your lower back. Or if you're rated for thoracic strain, upper back, you may be able to claim lower back, secondary to your upper back. Or you claim right and left shoulder, secondary to upper back. Or you may start to have problems with your neck. You could claim cervical strain, secondary to your upper back, just as long as you have medical evidence to connect the dots. Without medical evidence, those secondary conditions will be disapproved. Let's say you're rated for cervical strain, which is your neck. You may be able to claim right and left shoulder, secondary to your neck. Upper back, which is thoracic strain, secondary to your neck. You may start to develop migraines, secondary to your neck. There's a lot of ways to get service connection for secondary conditions. But a doctor has to either do a nexus letter or write something in your record that states that that secondary condition was caused by your primary service-connected disability. The way that VA rates disabilities, they use a regulatory guidance called 38 CFR Part 4, Subpart Bravo. That's 38 CFR Part 4, Subpart Bravo. That is the VA Bible, and that is what they use to determine how they rate each disability according to severity of symptoms. It's very important before you put in any claim that you always go to that 38 CFR Part 4, Subpart Bravo, so that you can understand exactly how VA rates that disability and what type of medical evidence that you must give to VA in order to get the disability rating that you seek. That's why some veterans get lowballed or they get disapproved for disability or reduced because they think that their disability has worsened. But when they go to those CMP exams, they're explaining their symptoms at a lower level than they did originally, according to the 38 CFR, and they end up getting reduced. So it's very important to look at that 38 CFR Part 4, Subpart Bravo, before you put in any disability claim. All mental health is rated under one umbrella. It doesn't matter how many mental health diagnoses you have, you're only going to receive one rating. They're going to combine all your symptoms and give you one rating under mental health. It doesn't matter if it's PTSD, MST, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, mood disorder, somatic syndrome, which is chronic pain, insomnia. It's all going to get one rating. Mental health is rated from 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100%. Some disabilities that can be secondary to mental health. You may develop migraine secondary to stress from your mental health diagnosis. You may start to have incontinence due to stress, fecal or urine incontinence. If you have to change your absorbent pads 4 more times a day, you can get up to 60% for incontinence, as long as you have medical evidence in your record proving that point from your doctor. If you're male due to stress, you may, or due to medications that you take for a service-connected disability, you may develop erectile dysfunction. If you believe that you have erectile dysfunction that is caused by a service-connected disability, of medication that you take for a service-connected disability, you should go to your doctor and get a diagnosis and put in a claim erectile dysfunction secondary to mental health or secondary to medication you take for a service-connected disability. If you're a female, you can claim female sexual arousal disorder. That's FSAD, female sexual arousal disorder. That means you have a low libido, no desire to have sex, or painful sex. It's equivalent to a male having erectile dysfunction. If you believe you have FSAD, you should let your doctor know and get a diagnosis for FSAD, and you can claim it secondary to mental health or secondary to another service-connected disability or medications that you take for a service-connected disability. But this must be annotated in your records. One of the biggest things that you can get secondary to mental health is sleep apnea, but there's a lot of misconception about sleep apnea. Sleep apnea can be rated at the 50% level. That's the max. But if you were not diagnosed during active duty service, or if you're diagnosed after you leave the military, you're going to need a nexus letter from a civilian doctor stating that sleep apnea aggravates your service-connected disability. Without a nexus letter, 99% of the time, your sleep apnea will be disapproved. VA doctors will not write a nexus letter on your behalf. A nexus letter must come from a civilian doctor. If you don't have a civilian provider to write a nexus letter on your behalf, there are doctors on the internet that are called independent medical examiners. IME, independent medical examiners. But if you get a private doctor to write a nexus letter on your behalf, you need to make sure that it's written correctly. To do so, you need to go to my Veteran to Veteran Info Facebook page. At the top of that page, you'll see a magnifying glass. That is the search option. There you're going to put Nexus letter Yvonne, and you will find a template on how a correctly written Nexus letter must read. It must have three things on it. It must state that the doctor has reviewed your medical history, that the probability is 50% more likely than not that sleep apnea aggravates your service-connected disability, and it must give medical rationale. I recommend you print a copy of my template and give it to the doctor that's going to write a nexus letter on your behalf to ensure that it is written accurately. I also recommend that you check all of your medications for side effects, because if you take medication, let's say for mental health, and your mental health medication has caused you to develop irritable bowel syndrome, if you have a connection from your doctor in your record saying your medication has caused a new disability, you will be able to claim that new disability secondary to medication that you take for a service-connected disability. So make sure to Google all side effects for all medications that you take to ensure that you have not developed a new disability caused by your medication, because that happens a lot. You should also go through your active duty medical records and look at all of your labs, because your labs can show that something may have been brewing in your body, but it was not properly diagnosed during active duty service. For example, for me, there are three disabilities that if they are diagnosed within 12 months after retirement or ETS, VA will automatically assume that those conditions started during active duty service, even though you didn't have a diagnosis. For example, for me, I looked through my labs and I saw during active duty I had high glucose levels, but nobody ever informed me of that. 8 months after I left the military, I got diagnosed with diabetes. Because I was diagnosed with diabetes within 12 months after leaving the military, and I had proof that I had high glucose levels during active duty service, VA gave me a disability rating for diabetes, even though I did not have a diagnosis for it in active duty service. The three disabilities that can be rated without a diagnosis, if you get a diagnosis within 12 months, is hypertension, heart disease, and diabetes. Even if something's diagnosed after that 12 months, and if you have a nexus letter to connect the dots, you can still get service connected. I had a client that got diagnosed with sarcoidosis 7 years after he left the military, and I was able to get him service connected for it because I went through his medical records and I looked at his labs and I saw he had high and low values in his labs. Also, the symptoms that he complained about during active duty were symptoms of sarcoidosis, but he was not properly diagnosed for sarcoidosis during active duty service. So he hired a pulmonologist to write a nexus letter to state that he had reviewed that veteran's military record, that the probability was 50% more likely than not that the veteran had sarcoidosis during active duty service, and he gave medical rationale. A doctor doesn't have to say 100% sure. He only has to give a 50% probability, more likely than not, in order to make a nexus connection. There's something that's called, if you have like a disease, a Superfund, there's hundreds and hundreds of Superfund sites. You should Google Superfund sites and see if you have ever been at any military installation that is considered a super, SUPERFUND site. Because if you were at a Superfund site, you may have been contaminated, and that contamination could have caused a disease. That's not a presumptive disease. It's just a Superfund site. I had a client that was in the Air Force, and she was stationed at a lot of Superfund sites. 20 years after leaving the military, she developed bladder cancer. But because she was stationed at various Superfund sites, the oncologist wrote a nexus letter on her behalf stating that more likely than not, due to her exposures at these different Superfund sites, contributed to her getting cancer 20 years later. And she was able to get service connected for being stationed at a Superfund site and developing a disease from that area. So it's very important to Google every place you've ever been stationed to see if you have been stationed at any Superfund sites. So we talked about direct service connection and secondary conditions. The third way to get service connection is presumptive disabilities. Presumptive disabilities are conditions that were caused by contamination. For presumptive disabilities, you don't necessarily have to have anything in your active duty records as long as it's documented in your record within a certain amount of time. If you're a Gulf War veteran, you have to have the documentation in your record within 10 years after leaving the area of contamination. For presumptive disabilities, there's 4 different groups. The first one is Agent Orange, a Vietnam era veteran. If you believe that you have a disability or presumptive disability caused by your contamination and you are a Vietnam era veteran, you need to go to my Veteran and Veteran Info Facebook page. At the top of the page, you'll see a magnifying glass. There you're going to put presumptive Agent Orange Yvonne, and you'll be able to pull up a laundry list of all the disabilities that falls under Agent Orange exposure. If you're a Gulf War veteran, you will put presumptive Gulf War Yvonne. If you are PAC Act, you would put presumptive PAC Act Yvonne. If you're Camp Lejeune drinking water, you would put presumptive Camp Lejeune drinking water Yvonne. And that way you'll be able to pull up a list with everything that you may be able to claim that falls under that presumptive disability. Some of the disabilities that fall under the presumptive criteria, if you started having skin disorder, skin rashes, heart disease, GYN issues, erectile dysfunction. You could start having problems with tinnitus, ringing of the ears, dry eyes due to the burn pits. You may develop some respiratory conditions such as sinusitis, rhinitis, asthma, allergies, chronic coughing, bronchitis, sarcoidosis. You may develop some gastric issues such as acid reflux, GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, diarrhea, undiagnosed illnesses. Different type of cancers, hemorrhoids, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, joint pain, muscle pain. All of these things fall under symptoms for presumptive disabilities. You just need to go to my page and look under the presumptive criteria to see what conditions you have that fall under that presumptive criteria. So the three ways to get service connection is direct service connection, secondary conditions, and presumptive criteria. All disabilities, if you've never asked VA to rate them previously, must be submitted on an initial claim form. That's a VA form 21-526 Echo Zulu. That's a VA form 21-526 Echo Zulu. This form is only used for disabilities that you have never asked VA to rate previously. Let's say you wanted to put in a claim for PTSD and you never claimed mental health previously. PTSD due to combat. You would put on that form PTSD due to combat. There are two different mental health exams that are given. There's one due to combat and there's one due to non-combat mental health reasons. If you believe that you have PTSD due to combat, you must put due to combat so you can ensure that you get the correct mental health exam. If you're claiming PTSD due to combat, you must also fill out a PTSD stressor form. That's a VA form 21-0781. VA form 21-0781. A PTSD stressor form must be accompanied with your claim, or VA is going to delay your claim and send you paperwork to tell you to fill out that 21-0781. I sent everybody a link that has the forms on it. You have to click on that form that says 21-0781, print out that form. It's going to ask you some questions. It's going to ask you for the date of the event, the location of the event, and what happened to you during active duty service that caused you to develop a mental health condition. It could be Scud missile attacks, IED explosions, small arms fire, and anything that caused you to fear for your life in a combat zone. Let's say you want to claim a disability that's non-combat, such as military sexual trauma, MST. MST impacts both males and females. If you believe that you're a victim of MST, on that initial claim form, you're going to put PTSD due to MST. The VA has a special section that handles all MST claims. And what they use to adjudicate MST claims is something that are called military sexual trauma markers. You should go to my Veteran Info Facebook page. At the top of the page, you'll see a magnifying glass. That is the search option. There you'll put MST markers. You are to give VA as many MST markers as you possibly can to help adjudicate the claim. The more markers you give them, the better chances of getting that claim approved. Some of the markers that the VA looks for are if you started getting in trouble, you got Article 15, you got moved to another duty station, you went AWOL, you got chaptered, you deserted. You may have confided in your chain of command and told them about the incident. You may have an MP report, a court-martial transcript, a CID investigation. You may have started going to sick call a lot and getting STD tests taken or pregnancy tests done. You may have confided in a friend or family, and they may be aware of that MST incident. They can write a buddy statement on your behalf stating that you had confided in them and this is what happened to you and how that incident currently impacts your life. The more markers you have, the better. And if you're claiming a non-combat mental health condition, you must also fill out a PTSD stressor form. That's that VA form 21-0781. And you must state on that form the date of the event, the location of the event, and what happened to you during active duty service that caused you to develop a mental health condition. As I stated, all new claims must go on that initial claim form, 21-526 Echo Zulu. And once you receive a VA decision, you have 12 months from that decision letter to tell the VA that you don't agree with that decision. The three ways to tell VA you don't agree is the appeal process. The first way to ask VA to reevaluate your claim is a supplementary claim. That is requested on the VA form 20-0995. That's a VA form 20-0995. If you want VA to reevaluate your claim under supplementary claim, you must provide new evidence that they have not previously seen. If you do not provide new evidence with your supplementary claim, VA will not reopen it. New evidence could be MRI, X-ray, pain clinic, doctor note, surgery, and patient care. It could be a buddy letter from a family or friend stating how your condition has worsened. It could be a statement from yourself stating how your condition has worsened. Or you could state, since my last C&P exam, my condition has worsened. Or I believe during my last C&P exam, I had an inadequate exam and an inadequate review of my records that caused me to be disapproved for my disability. Just as long as you are adding something new that the VA has not previously seen, they will reopen your claim under a supplementary claim. The second way to ask VA to reevaluate your claim is a higher level review. A higher level review is requested on a VA form 20-0996. That's a VA form 20-0996. If you would like VA to reevaluate your claim under a higher level review, you are not allowed to add any new evidence. You are simply asking VA for another set of eyes to look at your decision to determine if any regulatory guidance errors were made. At the regional level, you can go between a supplementary claim and a higher level review as many times as you want to. Let's say you had a claim, it got disapproved. You did a supplementary claim and your new evidence to reopen it is a buddy letter and they still disapproved it. You can go right back and do a higher level review on that supplementary claim that got disapproved. Just as long as every time that you reopen a claim under supplementary, you're going to have to add something new for VA to reevaluate that claim. After you have exhausted all of your evidence at the regional level, you can opt to move your case from the regional level and send it to the Board of Veterans of Appeals. If you would like to do that, you must fill out a VA form 10182. That's a VA form 10182. And you're going to send that form to the Board of Veterans of Appeals. If you take your case from the regional level and send it to the BVA, the current wait time for a judge to review your case is 3 years. The only way to get your case seen quicker, you must meet certain criteria. The first way to ask the Board of Veterans Appeals to advance your case on docket is that you must have a serious health issue, such as a terminal issue, cancer, kidney problems, heart disease, something that is very major and serious. You must get your doctor to write a letter to state that they are requesting for your case to be advanced on docket due to serious health condition. And then the Board of Veteran Appeals will decide if you meet the criteria to advance your case on docket. And then if they do, they'll send you a letter and you'll be moved before everybody else. The other way to be advanced on docket is you're over the age of 75. You can be advanced on docket due to age, but you must send a letter to the Board of Veteran Appeals requesting that your case be advanced on docket due to advanced age of 75 or more. The third way to get advanced on docket is financial hardship. If you having a financial hardship or you're being evicted or you have major debt and that you can hardly make ends meet, you must send proof to the Board of Veteran Appeals that you're homeless or you have financial hardship and request for your case to be advanced on docket. And the BVA will determine if you meet the criteria and they will move your case on the docket. So the three ways to be advanced on docket is if you have serious health issues, over the age of 75, or financial hardship. So those are the three ways to ask for the appeal status. As I stated, 38 CFR Part 4, Subpart Bravo is the VA Bible. And that's what you are to use before you do any claim to understand exactly what you must give to VA and what type of medical evidence that they need in order to get the disability that you seek. When you are preparing your claim, you should also submit a statement of support with every claim. The more preponderance of evidence you have for your claim, the better chances you have of getting that claim approved. A statement of support is a VA Form 21-4138. This is a very important document because this is telling the rater how that disability started and how it currently impacts your life. If you don't have a statement of support in your record, that rater is just going to go by whatever that doctor put on your exam. So it's best to have a statement of support in your record for every disability. So not only will they look at what the doctor stated, they must put what you stated in your statement as well in order to make a correct decision. When you do a statement of support, you should do it in a certain format to make sure that it's done accurately. A statement of support is a VA Form 21-4138. You can click on the link that I sent you to pull up your statement of support. A statement of support, the first thing you're going to put on your statement of support, you're going to state what you're claiming and why you're claiming it. You can say, I'm claiming my right knee secondary to my left knee due to overcompensation. Or I'm claiming cervical neck strain secondary to my migraines. Or migraine secondary to cervical neck strain. Or you could say, I'm claiming heart disease as a presumptive disability due to Gulf War exposure. Or I'm claiming larynx cancer as a presumptive disability due to Camp Lejeune drinking water. Or you could say, since my last C&P exam, my mental health condition has worsened. Or you could say, I got disapproved for migraines. I had an inadequate exam and an inadequate review of my records. You're going to state what you're claiming and why you're claiming it as your first statement on that statement of support. And after you write your first statement, the next thing you're gonna put below is the favorable evidence to support this claim. Below is the favorable evidence to support this claim. Once you have written below is the favorable evidence to support this claim, remember at the beginning of the seminar when I told you to dissect your active duty medical records? Let's say you're writing a statement of support for your right knee. You're going to go back to that list of during and after duty medical appointments for that particular disability. You're going to take that entire list and you're going to put that on your statement of support, those during and after duty medical appointments for that disability. If you run out of room on the statement of support when you're writing those during and after duty medical appointments, you can add additional blank pieces of paper to that statement of support. But at the top of that blank piece of paper, you must put your full name, social security number, and put continuation of statement of support for right knee, for example. That's full name, social security number, and put continuation of statement of support. Then you're going to take all medical evidence that you had dissected out of your medical records, and you're going to attach that to that statement of support as well. So not only will you have a chronological listing of all appointments related to that disability, you have all medical evidence related to that disability as well, all in one place. So it makes it easier for the rater to adjudicate your claim, and they don't have to try to search through your entire record to try to find evidence related to your service connection. After you have written your favorable evidence on your statement of support, the last thing you're going to put on that statement of support is an impact statement. An impact statement is crucial because this is your voice in front of the VA rater explaining how that disability currently impacts your life. If it's about mental health, you're going to write on the bottom, my mental health impacts my life with the following symptoms. If it's migraines, you're going to say, my migraines impacts my life with the following symptoms. If your statement is about your knee, you're going to put my knee impacts my life with the following symptoms. After you write that statement about the impact, you're going to go back to that VA Bible I talked about, 38 CFR Part 4, Subpart Bravo. Let's say you're writing your statement, impact statement for mental health. You're going to look up mental health in the 38 CFR. Mental health is rated from 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100%. You're going to read each description and you're going to decide where do you fall at as far as symptoms are concerned. You may read and say, well, I think I meet the 50% criteria. Or you may read and say, well, I think I meet the 70% criteria. Whatever criteria that you believe that you meet, you're going to use that exact verbiage from that 38 CFR to put on your impact statement. Verbiage is very important with the VA. It's important when you write your statement of supports, and it's also important when you go to your C&P exam that you are explaining your symptoms according to that 38 CFR, because it's all about check marks with the VA. If you don't say a symptom, they don't check the block, which can result in a lower disability rate. You should also get at least 2 buddy statements for each disability from a family or friend as well. The more preponderance of evidence you have for your claim, the better chances of getting that claim approved. If somebody's going to write a buddy statement stating how that condition currently impacts your life, they need to do it on a VA Form 21-4138 as well. but you need to make sure that they understand the symptoms in the 38 CFR, because it doesn't make sense for you to do a statement on yourself stating that you have symptoms at 70%, and when they write their statements, they're only using symptoms for 10%. And the VA uses something that's called the DBQ, a disability questionnaire. That is what they must use to perform all C&P exams. When you put in a claim and the VA tells you that you have an examination, the first thing that you need to do is click on that link that I sent everybody that says DBQ. Let's say your exam is for migraines. You're going to click on DBQ migraines. You're going to pull it up and you're going to read it so that you can understand all the questions that are going to be asked of you during that exam, so you're prepared to answer those questions to the best of your ability. Because sometimes these evaluators do inadequate exams and they skip questions. If this should happen to you, you need to start volunteering information that you know needs to be annotated on that form. Also, if you have an exam related to anything dealing with range of motion, neck, back, knees, wrists, ankles, and everything, anything that moves. If you have anything dealing with range of motion, let's say it's your back, and you go to the exam, they're going to measure your range of motion with a genometer. Range of motion stops at the point you start to feel pain. Let's say they tell you to bend your back, and if it hurts when you go like that, that's your range of motion. That's where you stop movement. Because if you move past your pain level and bend like this, they're going to say that's your range of motion. You're going to get a lower disability rating. Same thing with your knees. If they tell you to flex your knees, and if it hurts when you go like that, that's where you stop movement. That's your range of motion, because if you move past your pain and flex like that, they're going to say that's your range of motion. And you're going to get a lower disability rate. Also, we're taught no pain, no gain. That can be held against you during examination. Because if you don't show pain and grimace on your face, if you have pain during your range of motion evaluation, they're going to write on your exam, no pain seen during range of motion. You're going to get a lower disability rating. Also, you have any orthopedic devices such as wheelchairs, canes, braces, and shoe inserts. You need to wear those orthopedic devices to your examination, because they must annotate on your exam that you require orthopedic devices for that service-connected disability. If you would like for VA to get any of your records, whether they're civilian records or VA records, to go into your claim process, VA will get all those records on your behalf, but you must fill out a VA Form 21-4142 and a VA Form 21-4142 Alpha. And on those forms, you're going to put the name of the doctor's address, and the dates that that doctor has information related to your claim. Once you fill out that 21-4142 and that 21-4142 Alpha, you're going to upload those forms to va.gov using Quick Submit. And VA will get those records on your behalf without any additional cost to you, as part of the VA duty to assist the veteran. You also have the right to do a fully developed claim. If you wish to do a fully developed claim, that means you are going to give VA the DBQ from a private doctor. If you're going to have a private doctor to fill out your DBQ, I recommend that you also give them a copy of that doctor's resume to show their experience, because 90% of the evaluators at the VA are not medical doctors. They're either nurse practitioners, physician assistants. And a medical doctor's medical opinion outweighs the opinion of those two. So you need to make sure that you put a copy of that doctor's resume with the DBQ. You're also going to enclose any buddy statements from family or friends, your statement of support from you, and any new medical evidence that you have to support your claim. And you're going to upload all that information all at one time, and you're going to check the block that says fully developed claim. If you submit a fully developed claim, you are not required to go to a VA doctor. But if they still try to send you to a VA doctor, you can call that VA 1-800 number and tell them that you declined that exam and you wish for them to make a decision based on the evidence of record. But if you do not do a fully developed claim, VA does not pay for you to go to have your private doctor. If you do that, that's going to be money out of your pocket. But if you want to do a fully developed claim, that is your choice. But if you do not do a fully developed claim and VA tells you that you have an exam, you must attend that exam or your claim will be disapproved. The only claim that a private doctor cannot do is your initial mental health exam. Your initial mental health exam must be done by a VA psychiatrist or psychologist. If you don't agree with that examination, you have the right to have your private psychologist or psychiatrist to do another exam, and you will reopen it with a supplemental claim. And that new DBQ would be new evidence. If you're active duty service, the best thing I can tell you is sick call, sick call, sick call. There's thousands of millions of veterans that can't get service connected because they failed to go to sick call. Once you leave active duty service, you don't belong to the commander or the first sergeant. You belong to the VA. And VA is going to state if you can't prove that that condition started or was aggravated by military service, that it's not going to be service connected. Because if you only went to sick call one time for a disability, VA is going to say not service connected because all disabilities must be chronic. And chronic means from the first time you complain to the last time that you complain, there's a 6-month time period in that complaint system. And if you don't have that, it's going to be disapproved. So if you're active duty service, you may have been eating Motrin over the counter. You don't need to do that. If you still are in pain, you go to sick call, have them prescribe the Motrin so you have medical evidence that that condition still bothers you. Or if you get ready to get out the military and that injury that you had 7 years ago that you just kind of shook off, you need to go back to the doctor and get it reevaluated. So you have evidence in your record that that injury that happened 7 years ago is still an issue. If you're active duty service, whether you think you have sleep apnea or not, you need to go take a sleep apnea test because it's hard to get sleep apnea service connected after you leave the military. If you wait till after you leave, you're going to have to get a nexus letter to connect it to something you're already service connected for. And you're going to have to pay an independent medical doctor fee to do a nexus letter on your behalf. If you're National Guard or reservist, anything that you claim must be something that happened while you were on orders. Or if you were on a weekend drill, then if it was on a weekend drill, your unit has to do an investigation to see if it was in a line of duty. Without a line of duty report, VA is going to disapprove the claim. So you make sure if you get injured while you're on drill, you need to get a line of duty investigation. The only way to get service connected for a disability without any medical evidence, you need to get at least 3 buddy statements from somebody that was stationed with you that can state, yes, I was with him when he fell and he hit his back, or I was with him when he constantly complained about migraines during active duty service. That is the only way to get service connected for a disability without any medical documentation. If you're active duty service, you can do something that's called a line of duty. You can do a disability before discharge, a BDD. If you want to do a BDD, you can put in your VA claim 180 days out, and VA will try to give you a preliminary preliminary decision prior to your ETS or retirement. If you're going to do a BDD, you're going to prepare your claim just like regular veterans, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Make sure everything that's ever bothered you that lasts for 6 months or more is on that BDD. And you're going to have your last active duty physical. You need to make sure on your last physical, Everything from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet is annotated on your physical because VA looks at your last physical exam to see if you still had complaints about the disability that you are claiming on your last exam. I also have a Veteran to Veteran Info YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel and hit subscribe, anytime that I add new videos to that channel to help the veteran community, YouTube will contact you and state Yvonne Brooks has added new material for the veteran community. That is Veteran to Veteran Info on YouTube. Also, if you don't mind, at the end of this seminar, if you can go to the Veteran to Veteran Info Facebook page and write a statement about this seminar if you believe that it has been helpful to you today. And also invite your friends and family to take this seminar. The most that you need to take away from this seminar is that you are your best advocate. Nobody's going to take care of you better than you take care of yourself. The worst thing you can do is take your records, throw it on somebody's desk, and say, "Tell me what I deserve." VSOs are good and they can help you with your claim as well, but they're overworked a lot. I'm an accredited claims agent, and 99% of all my clients get 100%. I'm not saying because you took my seminar, you can get 100% because it's based on evidence and record and regulatory guidance. But now you understand the steps on how to get the best possible rating. Currently, I cannot take any more clients because my caseload is too high. That's why I decided to start doing these seminars so that I can teach you the things that I do personally to get my clients 100%. So that you need to make sure that, the VSOs, they're not going to tell you to do a statement support for every disability or get buddy letters from family and friends for those disabilities. They're not going to tell you to request your C file on a VA Form 3288 so you can look at those DBQs to see exactly what those doctors wrote on your C&P exam that caused you to get disapproved or lowball. They're not going to tell you to fill out that 21-4142 to ask VA to get all of your civilian and military records to go into your claim file so that they can use all of your records for your claim. They're not going to tell you to review those DBQs before you go to any examination so you can see exactly what is supposed to be asked of you during that exam so you are prepared to answer those questions to the best of your ability. They're not going to tell you to review that 38 CFR Part 4 Subpart Bravo so you can understand exactly how VA rates that disability and according to regulatory guidance. Understanding the system is the most important thing in getting your claim adjudicated with the best possible outcome. Denied does not mean denied, it only means delayed. Now you know the steps that you must take in order to get the best possible outcome. At this time, I'm going to look at the chat questions and answer those questions. These chat questions are not coming up. Someone said any extra tips for someone who does international travel for work, doctor visits? If you do international travel and you get sick, they have a foreign medical program, and you would have to go through foreign medical program to to get seen from, and the VA would have to pay for it. Someone said, do you have to use a VA doctor? No, you do not. You have the right to use your own private doctors for any DBQ. I don't know why all of these chat questions are not coming up. For some reason I can't get the chat questions up, but if you have a question, you can ask me the question on voice. If you raise your hand, I'll select your name. If you have a question, just go ahead and speak. Someone said, I think we got rated back in April from 10 to 40. It went away. I'm not able to see the complete chat questions, so just ask me the questions via voice.
I've got one, Yvonne.
Go ahead, Robbie.
I tried to file secondary on some things, but every time I went to claim it, the drop box kept coming up secondary to PTSD, and I wasn't claiming secondary to PTSD. I was claiming secondary to back pain, but it would not let me choose which secondary condition I needed to put that for. Is there a certain way I need to go about that, or?
You can pull out the form and print it yourself. So if it's a 21-526 Echo Zulu, you would fill out that form and you claim, I'm claiming A secondary to B, and then attach all medical evidence related to it and upload it to va.gov.